All right, guys. So we're going to continue with this Kia. We've got a couple things that we're going to work on today. So I'm going to play with Heavy Duty. So Heavy Duty is a truck wash slash degreaser slash APC. It says it works for engine compartments, frame rails, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they're looking at vehicle wash, 80 to 1 to 1 to 100, all-purpose cleaner, 40 to 1 to 60 to 1, tire and rim cleaner, 10 to 1, 20 to 1. Now these are PIRs. So we're going to try this on the Kia, and we're going to use it to clean out the engine bay. And then what we're going to end up doing once we're done with that is a mitt wash on the car, like an actual touch wash. Because Stars and Stripes did a great job, but it did still leave some stuff behind, as I showed yesterday. A little bit of film, a little bit of ash, a little bit of, you know, dirt here or there, and the physical touch of the wash is going to help us to clean that off. And this is a pretty dirty example of a vehicle, so it's, you know, it's normal to need a little bit more. I think you could probably use Stars and Stripes as a touch-free on something that's getting regularly washed on a pretty regular basis, but you still kind of need to dry it, or you end up with water spots and stuff, and I don't know. I think it's one of those things, touch-free is really like a pipe dream for us. We're going to start off with the engine bay. We're going to use Heavy Duty for that. We're going to spray it all out. Then we'll mix up some ChemX foam, and we'll wash. Actually, I think what we'll do is we're going to work on some of the scale. So there's some mineral deposits, water spots on the glass, kind of all over the vehicle, mostly on the sides though. It's probably from, I'm guessing, where she parks, there's probably a sprinkler, maybe on the passenger side of the vehicle, because the passenger side has pretty bad water spotting on the glass. And we're going to play with Innovacar Scale. We can try out Pan's water spot remover as well. And also I have Energo here, which is from Labocosmetica. I've used this in the past. This is one of the Labo products that I kept, and that is really like an insane product. Works incredibly well. So we'll see how these do. I'm going to test out Pan, and we'll test out Innovacar, and we'll compare them to, you know, one of the products that I think is the best that you can possibly get. Once we're done with that, then we'll do a mitt wash with X-Foam, and then we'll probably be ready for another video. We'll probably do a separate video on the interior, but let's see how these couple products work today, and we'll go from there. All right, so I'm gonna try to give you an angle here. I'm hoping that this shows up well, but there are pretty heavy water spots all up and down this window here. Okay, pretty heavy spotting across the top. Also across the bottom here. The first one we're gonna mess around with is Clean by Pan. So this is Pan's water spot remover. We're just going to spray some here on an applicator. We'll also spray some here on the window. It is a little thinner compared to the other products that we're going to be testing today. But we're just going to put some on here. We're going to let it sit, do its thing. And Pan's instructions say, clean vehicle, shake well, spray on a microfiber, wipe the affected area, work one panel at a time. Allow the product to do it well 1 to 2 minutes. Do not let dry. Avoid direct sunlight. So I think that we're reasonably doing that. We're going to have direct sunlight here pretty soon that we'll have to worry about, and I guess I'll hit this window while I'm here as well, but we'll do our tests on this driver's side window so that we can be fair about them. The one that a lot of people like that I don't have is DIY detail. I've used it before. I don't have it here, and that's because Energo is insane, and that's the one that I kind of opted to keep. So just add a little bit more here, keep it from drying, and we'll see how this does. And water spots are something that happen from time to time, and they can be tough to deal with, right? They're a problem. They're something that typically happens because of hard water, or water that has high mineral content, drying on the car. And they are on the whole car, so we'll be able to work on the other side as well, actually. So, because we have a couple of these windows to deal with, I've just got a bucket of water here. We're going to use, this is a towel from the rag company, but it doesn't really matter what we're using specifically as far as the towel is concerned. It's just, you want something clean, and you want a bucket of water, something that you can neutralize. You could also spray water or rinseless on it if you want to, but It's good to do this before you clean the car because, you know, you're going to end up with runs and stuff like that all over the car, and you'll make sure that you neutralize it pretty well when you later do your wash. So we'll clean all of this the best we can, and then we'll be able to do a nice comparison before and after. And we'll just grab a spare drying towel to dry this off. And yeah, so I'm going to be honest with you, it didn't really do much. Again, I'll take a little bit of video with my phone just in case it's hard to see on the camera. The amount of water spotting, this is the area where we used the clean by pan. This is the area where we didn't. It looks pretty similar. Same thing up here across the top. It doesn't really change. Looks the same, and our line was right about here. So I would say both sides of the line are pretty similar. And that's okay. You know, water spots are a tough thing to deal with, and different chemicals work better in different situations. So let's try Scale. Scale is an Innovacar product, and this, if I remember right, can be diluted up to 1 to 10. It comes out kind of like paste. So let's do the middle here, and we'll see how this does. So this reminds me a little bit of Energo. I think Energo has a little bit better scent. It's been a minute since I've tried that, but this is more paste-like. So we'll see how that does. And I still have a bunch here, so we'll hit this window with Energo, or sorry, Scale as well. We'll do the same thing. We'll give it 1 to 2 minutes to dwell. I think I gave the pan a little bit longer than that, but tried to be pretty fair about it. And then we'll go from there. They all have similar instructions. And it is possible the glass is etched, and we might end up having to do, you know, some polishing work, but I think we're in for a treat here. So let me get this section here. We're gonna use our rag and clean this with water. Again, the point is to neutralize this, so you kind of want to be heavy with the water, right? We're gonna wash the car anyway, but still, check that out. There's like a box. See that on camera? Does that show up? Yeah, it does. All right. So there's like a box here where the Energo was. My God. And I keep calling it Energo. It's not. It's Scale. This is Scale. This is 100% Scale from Innovacar. There is a rectangle with no water spots. That is insane. That's absolutely insane. Holy crap. All right, well, that's pretty insane. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the pan side right now. I just got this a little bit wet, and we'll see how it does. You know, diluted a little bit. It's still pretty close to straight. Now they say you can run it straight. They also say that you can dilute it. So we're just gonna go through and we'll hit the same section here, and the middle is just good. So let this sit for a minute. And then I'm just gonna touch up anything on this window. And then we still have a whole nother side of the car, so I'll find some other products to test now that the sun is moving over here. This Scale is really good. It might be as good as Energo. It really might. I think at that point, it probably is a matter of cost and smell, like user experience stuff, because the performance is just insane. Being a little faster now. I don't have as much dwell time. The sun's starting to come over on this side of the car. I don't want this to dry on the glass if I can avoid it. And then let's hit it. We could see that our Our rectangle has been extended. Still some over here, a little bit that I'm gonna have to hit again. I just didn't let it dwell enough that time, or I'm not running it strong enough. I think it's really about the dilution. When you're using the scale straight, it's super effective. When you're diluting it and not giving it the dwell time it needs, then it's not. And I think we might be doing Pan a little bit of a disservice here, just being honest, because I think his product is a little bit more ready to use and a little bit less strong. And that's leading us to have a different experience with his versus this, which is incredibly highly dilutable. And I'm running it at a, neat, which is more for like really, really rough situations, which this has pretty excessive water spotting on it. And again, it's just, the car gets parked outside every day. We have super hard water here. It's a pretty normal thing for this area to have really hard water spots if you're getting hit by sprinklers, especially. And in our development, so the person who owns this lives over there. In our development, there are rules about maintaining landscape and stuff. So everybody has sprinklers and they run, pretty normally. So I'm going to let this sit for a minute. We'll apply a little bit more. We're just going to do it heavy. And we'll just make sure this is the last time I'm hitting this window, because we've got Mr. Sun coming over here, and let's just get this whole section. Why not? So I think the key here is the longer you can keep it wet, the longer you can make the dwell time, the more you can let the product work, the better experience you're going to have. I think that's pretty similar for most of the products we use, right? It's a pretty normal thing. Unless you're talking about something like a pH neutral foam. There's only so much it's going to be doing, right? But I guess even then, because there's surfactants, there's other things that are breaking down dirt, right? So, hit this with our wet towel. And we'll just make sure we rinse really well. And see how we ended up. All right, so we've got a little bit on the edge right there. This section is otherwise great. The whole middle looks fantastic. Got a little bit right in here, but dang, did a great job. So we'll just we'll hit this again, a little bit right there. Bottom looks good. Top looks good, and then we just got a little bit right in here. And this was the last part that I hit, so it didn't have quite the dwell time of the rest of it. And yeah, this scale is super impressive. So what we'll do on the other side of the car is we'll pull out Energo. We'll do a window like 50-50 with Energo and scale and see how they both do. And then I'll see if I have another brand of water spot remover that we could try as well. So this stuff here I never really touched. You could see the square there where I used the the scale, and here, like, there's a pretty significant difference. Right there's a nice line. Let's just do one of these. We'll give a nice circle there. Let it sit. And I'm back to using the green side, which is what I used on the pan originally. And we'll see how that does. Now, let me hit the back side of this window with scale because I've already started with that. So, spray a little bit on there, do the whole thing, and we'll get this porthole next to it. So, do another shot on there just because it's kind of starting to dry. The sun is directly overhead now. It's like noon. So hopefully this will die down a little bit here. So get our scale off of here. Dry that towel. Dry that window. That looks good. Let's get our scale off of here. Try that window. That also looks really good. Still a little bit of, see some white circles here and there, but like there's a line. It's pretty night and day different. And then let's remove the pan. And I'm not seeing that circle is really being any lighter. So it's almost like the pan isn't really touching this. So let's try another one. I've got CarPro Spotless here. So I don't want to be picking on pan. I think it's more that scale is pretty special, and then that pan isn't. So we've got our Spotless here, and then we're going to try out Energo just here. It's been a while since I've used this. Energo has a good smell to it. It's probably the best smell of any of these. Energo is also very thick. It's like paste. Just give it a little extra there. Do the same for the CarPro. Give it a little extra there. Give it a little. This has got some like foam to it. I guess we didn't read the instructions on the CarPro. I assume it's the same as the others. Spray on towel surface brush. Allow 30 to 60 seconds to break down mineral. Allow, do not let dry. Wipe it off with a damp microfiber towel. Okay. I'm just trying to keep this wet here. I probably should have waited a little bit before moving over this side of the car, but we'll be okay. So, yeah, this section looks really good. Really good. I've got two different applicators here, if you're not picking up on that on camera. Two different ones. So this one, the green side is pan, the gray side is Scale, and on the other one, the green side is CarPro, and the gray side is Energo. So let's wipe the CarPro off, see how we did. Oops. Let's check out Energo. You can see the line right there where it was, even though it semi-dried on the panel. And then check out the CarPro up here. A little bit dimmer in this area, but like barely touched it as well. So again, I'm not knocking the pan. Like I think that pan makes great products. I think it's just this is a really extreme case. And Energo and Scale are both pretty insane products. So I do think though it's the difference between buying a ready to use that's more of a, we'll say consumer, it's pro grade, but like more of a consumer oriented product where you're gonna pick it up off the shelf and spray it. Neither one of these say to dilute them. They both say to run them straight. And I mean pan and CarPro. Where on the other hand, you know, Energo and Scale can both be diluted out, you know, 1 to 10, something along those lines, 1 to 5, for situations where you don't need as much strength. But, you know, here where we needed the strength, we didn't necessarily have it. CarPro did slightly better than the pan, but not much, really. And CarPro's been around, you know, forever. Nobody can argue with the quality of their products. So, I think I'm going to do the rest of this with some Energo. I don't have any other, see this has a little bit of soap action in it too, as you can see. I don't have any other water spot removers here to test right this second. I was looking for some stuff on my shelf. I don't need them all that often, so I don't always buy them when I'm testing a full line. I always get shampoos, I always get glass cleaner, I always get a basic interior cleaner. You know, I'll usually get a tire dressing. I don't always get every ceramic thing that they make. I don't always get all the water spot things because not all of my cars are covered in water spots, or, you know, and all of my cars are coated. I want to make sure that I can do tests, effective tests for you guys. But yeah, I think Energo or Scale, I think I could go back and forth. I think I lean towards Energo a little bit because of the smell. The user experience, I think, is really fantastic. And really, it didn't leave anything behind, where the Scale left a little bit of heavy on the edges. So I think the Energo might just be a little bit stronger. But I think I could be happy with either one of them. So if Energo was, you know, out of stock and I needed some, I would probably just buy Scale from Innovacar. Call it a day. We're gonna let this sit. We're gonna clean it off in a minute, and then we'll do the rest of the car and get on with our show. It's just gone. Little bit here, but it's just so good. We just end up having to chase a little bit here and there. But when you do your window for the first time and you see a 75% cleanup, it's a pretty dramatic difference. And I'm okay with chasing a couple of the edges. Got a little bit here as well, same thing. A lot of this is probably because it's drying or starting to dry very quickly, because we're using this in the sun and you're not really supposed to use it in the sun. You don't get the dwell time in the sun that you get out of the sun. So I would say you're better off doing this indoors if you can, because you're going to get some dwell time. You're going to make it a lot easier on yourself. All right, so I have heavy duty in this foam cannon. We're going to just open up the fan a little bit. Just run through, that was about 30 mLs of product. Let that sit for a minute. Just get it off the paint there. And the colorful runs. So the engine bay was pretty dirty, as you could see. Fairly normal for most modern cars, especially if they're dirty on the outside. They're sucking air in through the grill and in through the radiator here, and you end up with dirt all over your engine. The cleanest part of the whole thing was the battery. The battery has a date of, I think it was 2025. So the battery is relatively new, must have needed one recently. I've got really colorful foam runs coming off of the car, which is awesome. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna let this sit for like another 30 seconds, and we're gonna rinse from the top down. Now, if you're going to do an engine bay, you should do it before you wash the car, because as you see, I'm going to get overspray on the fenders, on the front bumper, on a bunch of other places. As you can see, the difference is pretty night and day. Now, as I said today, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do a contact wash. We're going to use X foam from ChemX, and that's a mitt wash. So we'll mix that up and see how it works. Yeah. This is cherry scented. It's not incredibly strong, but you can tell what it is. As you can see, good foam at around 100 to 1 or a 1% PIR. we're just gonna run around the car here, get everything nice and clean. All right, so it's been a long video. That's gonna be all for today. So we tested a couple different products. We started off with some different water spot removers. We saw Clean by Pan and CarPro really not be able to touch the amount of scale that there is on these windows. And I don't think I think that's fairly normal for a lot of ready-to-use water spot removers. I've run into similar results before with other products from other brands. And then we pulled out Energo and we used Scale from Innovacar, and we saw the difference between a product that's designed to be super heavy concentrated that can be diluted but doesn't have to be diluted, and something that is more ready to use and a little bit more friendly to just pick up and start working with. Scale and Energo just demolished the water spots that were on the car and were able to remove them. But even at that, I still had to go over a lot of them several times, and I still had to actually work at them quite a bit. Following that, we used Heavy Duty under the hood. Foam on, rinse off, that couldn't have been easier. Worked really, really well. So I think it's a good option for if you're looking for something to foam your engine and then rinse it off. It did a great job. ChemX High Foam Mitt Wash, it did highly foam. It did cling fairly well. This I don't think is really anything to write home about. I think it's them rounding out their line, right? They've got a high pH and low pH, and a heavy duty, like this gives them a neutral mitt wash, which I think most people would expect just about every line to have. Like I mentioned, it is a cherry scent. It does smell good, but it's not, it's not unseating my favorites from somebody like, Koshkemi GSF or some of the other ones that I've just grown to love. But it is solid. So if you are looking to pick up ChemX, it might be something nice to add to your cart. But Stars and Stripes are the real heroes here. Heavy Duty is, like I said, great for like an engine or undercarriage wash. And then you know, these two, Spotless and water spot remover from Clean by Pan, they might be great for somebody who has a pretty maintained car. You occasionally get water spots on it. You don't have heavy etching, but you have, you know, something that you need to clean up from time to time, and you're looking for something that's ready to use. If you're somebody who is going to have to deal with something like what I had here today, really heavy etching, really heavy scale buildup, you know, Energo, Innovacar Scale, those are both two really solid products. I would give a slight nod to Energo because of the scent and the overall user experience. I honestly don't know what they cost, so I'd have to look at that as well, but I truly don't care unless Energo is insanely more expensive than Scale. That's probably the one that I would just pick. But if Energo was out of stock, or you were buying from a place that sold an Innovacar but not Labocosmetica, I think that they're close enough as like a number one, number two, that you know, I could easily swap one for the other and still be happy. If I didn't know Energo existed, I would totally be happy with Scale. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to wrap this video. I'm going to pull the car in. I'm going to start another video, and we're going to mess around with some of the contamination. There's some paint on the side of the car that I want to get off. I think I'm going to hit it with a one-step polish really quick, and then we'll mess around with some other products. Maybe we'll use, I don't know, I have DIY Details wax here. That might be fun to use. I do also have a couple other like sealants and stuff like that that I could try out. So just give me an opportunity to try a couple more products. And that's why I really like doing these, you know, I'm borrowing a dirty car from my neighbor kind of thing. It gives me an opportunity to try out some things that I don't normally get to try. My cars don't have water spots on them, and you know, and they're not very dirty. So rather than wait a really long time for my car to get heavily dirty in order to do a video, it's just kind of nice to be able to grab something from here in the development. So this might be something that you see more of in the future, where I just borrow a car from somebody, wash it for them, they get a free car wash, you guys get some content, and it kind of turns into a win-win. So yeah, that's all I have for today. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.